Well, let's turn our attention to overseas here. China's technology hub of Shenzhen is shutting major electronics wholesale market Huaqiangbei to curb an outbreak of COVID-19. 3 key buildings in the area will stay closed until September 2nd. And Brian, we're of course highlighting this because Shenzhen is a massive tech hub. When you think about the area, nearly 18 million people there. COVID cases, 9 reported, 9 symptomatic and 2 asymptomatic. And then here we are talking about closures. It's an area that's largely avoided these closures until now. So it could have, it's still early to say, but it could have a significant impact.
Yeah, and the closure, September 2nd is just the end of this week, right? But of course, it's just a reminder to everyone that the experience that they had in the beginning of the year and how crippling that was for their economic growth, we've seen the numbers, has not dissuaded the Chinese government from abandoning that zero COVID policy. With 9 cases, they're still enforcing these extremely stringent lockdowns. It's very clear that they are staying the course on that policy. But look, at the end of the day, this has macroeconomic ripple effects. I was talking with Geeta Gopinath over at the International Monetary Fund on Friday in Jackson. She was saying that the China story with the shutdowns, but then also the implications with whether or not there could be some other bubble brewing there with the inflating property sector, high leverage in that sphere of the world. That's a serious way down, not just on Chinese growth, but on global growth as well. 3.3% is their expectation, which is a massive step down from their previous growth rates.
Yeah, and if you look at past downturns, and we've sort of said this over and over, but China has kind of led the growth out of it. This time, China is seeing a significant pullback because a number of those factors you mentioned. What does that mean for global growth? That's going to continue to be the big question. But, we say this over and over, but Xi Jinping is not abandoning the zero COVID policy. That is pretty much set. What I think is going to be interesting to watch, though, is to see the backlash that's coming, because we have seen it slowly brewing, the anger at the very ground level. Obviously, what's the impact, from an economic standpoint, hard to say. But I do think that that's something that he's keeping a close watch on, especially with him trying to seal that 3rd term.
Yeah, and last point, you mentioned Shenzhen specifically is such a tech hub in the south of China. It's essentially their Silicon Valley. Very high concentration of those young employees who are really driving a lot of the innovation in China and productivity. If you see shutdowns in that region, that could further exacerbate the trend that we've already been talking about, which is high youth unemployment and just a general cultural shock that is a dissuasion of, the Chinese policies with your prime years in your 20s being stuck inside your apartment.